Okay, well, hello, my friends. I've been wanting to do a video for a while, but I'm not going to bother putting up my green screen right now because I'm just too lazy to do it. So I've been wanting to do a video response to The Other Side of Darkness, which is a really seems to be a pleasant person, and she has this whole blog and this whole video about how she came out of witchcraft. And basically, when I read her story, it sounds like it just wasn't for her. But she's been getting, it's been getting worse.
My name is Beth, and I am a former pagan or witch, and now a born again believer or Christian as of about a year and a half ago. I have spent quite a few years being involved in the occult or witchcraft. I can call myself a pagan, and you can also say Wiccan. And I would like to share with you a little bit about what I experienced as a witch during Halloween and what I think it means to Christians. Hi, this is Beth from The Other Side of Darkness. Check out my blog, theothersideofdarkness.com, for my full testimony on how I came out of witchcraft, the occult, and New Age into a relationship with Jesus Christ and everything He has done for me. Hi, this is Beth with The Other Side of Darkness. Check out my blog, theothersideofdarkness.com, where I give my testimony on how I came out of satanic ritual abuse, New Age, witchcraft, and so much more because of the saving grace of Jesus Christ, who literally brought me out of the pit of hell and death and destruction and despair.
Her testimony is changing, and it's getting to the point now where it's I just want to share her story with you, and I'm going to let you come to your own conclusion. But I'm pretty sure that you're going to agree with me. So let's look at her testimony. At the beginning of every single video from a year ago, she introduced herself and said that her story is on her blog, and she came out of witchcraft, the Mormon Church, blah 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 blah. And then as time went on, that story started to change a little bit, and now it's to the point where she came out of satanic ritual abuse. So I wanted to find out more about her story because this is one of the things that I do videos on. I want to find out the truth. I want to find out, is this actually happening or is it something else? And so far, I have to say, it has always been that this is stories that are fabricated. I have not found one credible, reliable source of something like this happening. There's never been one credible story that actually can be traced to what would be considered an actual satanic ritual where someone is abused in that circle. It hasn't happened. So anyhow, so I wanted to look into her story, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go through her blog here. And in her blog, she mentions that her story, she has a testimony in her story. So we're going to look at both of those. We're going to look at her testimony. So here is the beginning of her testimony, talking about how her parents were abusive. She was punished. She was in the Mormon Church. She 10 years growing up in the Mormon Church, and during that time I was beaten, molested, raped, and tortured in various ways of the church itself. That's horrible. I'm so sorry that that happened to you in the Mormon Church. So that's horrible. I'm sorry that that happened to you. The abuse started as young as 2. Wow, that's horrible. So hear her testimony. It happened in the Mormon church. Okay. Um, I was scared to death to speak out to anyone about it and would have not known how to say no if he had succeeded. Once you are sexually abused, oftentimes you have strength to try to protect yourself from it happening again. Okay. I was desperate for love and attention. I was fighting boys who were trying to take advantage of me sexually. So yeah, that's I can definitely understand that. I've known girls who have gone through abusive relationships, especially abusive relationships with their stepfathers or their fathers, and it does seem to interfere with them having relationships with men in the future. So I can definitely relate to that. And I just want to make it clear, I have nothing against Beth, the lady who does this. Um, I I believe that she was. I believe her testimony that she was abused. I believe that she grew up in a Mormon church. I believe that she dabbled in witchcraft for a while, found out it wasn't for her. Um, but I don't believe that she suffered satanic ritual abuse, and that's kind of where I'm trying to clear up any misunderstandings that I may have on my part. Because if she mentions it, then I believe her. But so far in this testimony, I have not seen her talk about it. Here she is talking about when she got into Wicca. It was not long after I met a couple that were Wiccan. The man came from a family of Wiccans, okay, whatever that is, and his mother was the high priestess in a coven. They were quite taken with me and wanted to teach me all about their ways and practices. For the most part, you have to approach a Wiccan and ask to be initiated or ask to learn. Sometimes they will turn you down, sometimes they will accept you. I have not met anyone who's actually been excuse me, who has been approached and asked to join a coven unless they were already in a coven or a group. They don't just walk up to people and ask them to join a coven. Let's see. I was interested in hearing what he had to say, but I was very much against organized religion. To me, religion hurt people and was full of rules and oppressions. What I learned about Wicca was the opposite of that. It was about freedom and connection with the earth. I would say it is about freedom. It is about individualization. It is very much the antithesis of organized religion and dogma. Essentially, rather than being forced into a collective mind, basically you are encouraged to think for yourself and basically learn who you are. But anyhow, it was about having power and using and taking control of your life in partnership with the energy of the universe, not being controlled by it. Now, here's where I begin to kind of question Beth's story because, first of all, Wicca is not about power. They seem to think that the only reason why people study witchcraft and the occult is to gain power, and that is not always the case. Some people may be into it to gain power. Those people usually leave it rather quickly because they find out that what they wanted out of it, they're not getting, and so they get bored and they move on to something else, like she did. So that's fine. The people who, however, stay find some other reason, some other purpose, some other meaning in what they're studying. It was about a God that was everywhere and a part of everything, and it wasn't just God but the goddess. Okay, the goddess was the most important part of the Wiccan tradition. It was not some stifling Christian sexist belief like Mormonism. I had discovered the real truth of the world finally. Okay, if that's what you thought, sure, that's great. I was very heavily into drugs by this time, experimenting with whatever came my way. I started with marijuana just a year or so before and had moved into LSD. Wouldn't it be moved on to? Oh, well, moved on to LSD and mushrooms. I started using drugs to numb the intense well of pain laying deep inside of me. I can completely relate to that and understand it because of what happened in your past. But then I began to use drugs as a way to enhance my life. Okay. Drugs were a way to connect with higher levels of self and the world around me, as well as to escape. They helped me intensify the feelings I had for this couple. And then a brother that I fell madly in love with. And then a brother that I fell madly in love with. Okay. They took me under their wing and trained me and molded me into who they wanted to be. I fully embraced the persona of the witch. I got deep into learning about witchcraft when suddenly the Wiccan man and his family completely kicked me out of their lives. I was dumbfounded and determined to show them how serious I was about witchcraft and being good enough for them. Okay, there's a lot going on there, so I'm not too sure exactly all the personal dynamics in this relationship and then this person you fell in love with. So I think there's more to that story than we're being told. But anyhow, I threw myself into learning about witchcraft and the occult, as well as many other New Age practices. I taught myself about Buddhism, Hinduism, Kabbalah, and more. Sounds like she was dabbling a lot in various different things. I worshiped the moon and the ocean and did many rituals and spells. Okay. I did crystals and other gems over my chakras and awakened my third eye. I did yoga, meditated, and tried to open my mind to higher levels. So far, this is sounding very cliche, but I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I did rituals where I astrally projected and constantly called on my gods and goddesses to bless and protect me, as well as enhance my rituals and spells. Okay. I was so deep into the practice yet, I was doing it all on my own. I had no other witch friends, nor did I find a coven to join. I kept seeking to find other witches and a coven, but as I look back now, I can again see God's hand protecting me from various situations. If I would have gotten into a coven, I would have been that much harder to separate myself from witchcraft. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead. It wasn't long before we were back together and our relationship became more abusive. The witchcraft only intensified at this time as I threw myself into it, obsessed with the craft. Witchcraft took the back burners I struggled to get through everyday life, which it should. If your life is in turmoil, if you are going through a situation, whatever it might be, yes, you should put witchcraft on the back burner and work on whatever it is that's going on in your life. I've had to done that. I've had to do that. And that's just part of life. You have to prioritize things, and having a roof over your head, having a job, especially if you're taking care of a kid, feeding them, feeding yourself, clothing them, clothing you, getting them to school, all of that should be priority. If you have to put your religion, your practice, your witchcraft, whatever it is, if you have to put that in the back burner, that's just what you have to do. We have to prioritize things. You can't do everything, you have to prioritize. I desperately missed my practice of witchcraft. I began looking for a coven or group to join again. Now that my life was stable, I would teach my children things I knew about witchcraft and talk to them about the special holy days such as Samhain and Yule. It's interesting that she picked Samhain and Yule. If she was really a Wiccan, her high holy days the two she probably would have mentioned would have been Samhain and Beltane, and she actually spelled Samhain wrong. She spelled it Samhain, Samhaim instead of Ain. So anyhow, so it's interesting that she chose Samhain and Yule because those are the two that are most associated, or the ones that a lot of the Christians want to supposedly take back. They don't want people to celebrate Halloween or Christmas, and then Easter is usually another one that's kind of thrown in there. So it's interesting that she chose those two. So that kind of, to me, raises a red flag. My journey at this point was a journey of finding the truth about who God really is and learning about the true Lord. Okay, so she's gone through all of this. So this was her horrible experience in witchcraft. She, first of all, sounds like she suffered sexual abuse, when she was very young at the hands of the Mormon church. She got into witchcraft. It wasn't for her. Sounds like she got into drugs. Sounds like she had a bad experience with the coven because of whatever reason. Sounds like there were some personal issues going on. She had a child, had to kind of put that on the back burner, take care of her kids. There was nothing in her story about satanic ritual abuse. Okay, that was it. So that's her story. I'm going to leave a link to her blog down below, but it sounds like she had a bad experience with things, but I don't know where the satanic ritual abuse comes from. She is just throwing this in here. So I downloaded this blog because possibly after this video, she may go in and edit it and change it and include it in there. But I don't really, I kind of question her motives for this. I think that her experiences are possibly genuine. However, I think that her motives for putting this out there is more of a reason to throw shade on witchcraft and to associate it with very negative things in this world. Where basically she could have been a Christian grown up, had the same experience at a church, and did drugs and all this stuff. She could have been a Buddhist. She could have been a Muslim. She could have been anything. She could have been an atheist and had these experiences. So she had some bad experiences, but none of it is the fault of witchcraft. So, anyhow, this has been Eli Loken. Thank you so much, and blessed be.